Instagram is a platform nearly everyone uses nowadays, whether for sharing their lives, keeping up with friends, or just mindlessly scrolling through photos. At the time this happened, I had around 300 followers, not a huge number, but in the small rural town where I lived, it was quite a lot compared to others in my community. We didn't have many connections outside our area, so getting a new follower was always something of a surprise. One quiet evening, I was lounging on my couch, half watching a movie when my phone buzzed with a notification. It was an Instagram alert, informing me that someone named Haley had just followed me. Curious, I opened the app to check out her profile. Haley was beautiful, blonde, with an infectious smile and a profile that boasted around 5,000 followers. She had about 50 photos on her account, all of them spaced out over time, which made her profile seem genuine. The photos were well liked, with hundreds of likes and comments, mostly from guys leaving hearts and emojis. Before I even had a chance to follow her back, a notification popped up. She had sent me a direct message. It was a simple, straightforward message. "Hey, I don't usually do this, but I think you're really cute." Now, not to sound arrogant, but I've been told I'm attractive and I keep myself in good shape, so I wasn't completely shocked by her message. I followed her back and replied, "Thanks, I think you're cute too." What started as a casual conversation quickly turned into a long chat that flowed easily. We talked about everything: fitness, our schools, hobbies. It felt like we were really clicking. By the end of our chat, she gave me her number, and we made plans to meet up the next night at a popular local bar called The Hideaway. Friday night rolled around, and I was starting to feel the nerves kicking in. I had never gone on a date with someone I met through Instagram, but Haley seemed genuine and she was stunning. I drove to the Hideaway and parked, waiting for her text or call to let me know she had arrived. After a while, my phone buzzed with a message from her. But instead of telling me she was there, she said her car had broken down and she needed a ride. I reread the message a couple of times, trying to process it. I tried calling her, but the call didn't go through. She then sent another text, describing where she was stranded. I hesitated, unsure of what to do. But I had checked out her Instagram thoroughly. Everything seemed legitimate. Her friends were tagged in her photos. They commented on her posts, so it didn't seem like I was being catfished. I texted back, "On my way," and drove to the location she mentioned. The road she described was a quiet, deserted one that wound through dense woods on either side. It wasn't the kind of place you'd expect someone to break down. As I approached, I spotted a car pulled over with its hood up. It was a black Nissan Altima, just as she had described. I parked on the opposite side of the road and got out, walking toward the car. The windows were tinted so dark that I couldn't see inside. I knocked lightly on the window, expecting Haley to open the door, but there was no response. I walked around to the front of the car, glancing at the engine to see if she had tried working on it, but it looked untouched. Growing frustrated, I texted her again, "Where are you? I'm about to leave." As I was about to head back to my car, I noticed that the driver's side window had been slightly cracked open. I knew for a fact it had been completely shut just a minute ago. I called out, "Haley?" but there was no response. I took a step closer, trying to peer inside the window, when suddenly a man's hand, reached out and motioned for me to come closer. My heart dropped. The hand was rough and clearly not Haley's. In a shaky voice, I shouted, "Get lost," and bolted back to my car. I sped away, my heart pounding, and made the first right turn I could find. As I glanced in my rearview mirror, I saw a car with its headlights off trailing me. Panic set in as I turned off my own lights and started taking random turns, trying to lose them. Eventually, I managed to shake them off. When I finally made it home, my heart was still racing. I immediately checked Instagram, only to find that Haley's profile had already blocked me. It wasn't until later that I learned the real story. Haley's account had been hacked by some creepy guy who was using it to lure in unsuspecting victims. I wasn't the only one he targeted, but I can only hope that everyone else was as lucky as I was to get away. My Instagram account wasn't huge, but with around 1,100 followers, I had a decent number of people keeping up with my posts. I kept my account public, allowing anyone to view, like, and comment on my photos. As expected, I often got likes and comments from people I didn't know. Most of the time it was harmless, but there was one person who started to stand out from the rest. The first time I noticed him was when he commented on a photo I had posted of myself at the beach. It was a simple picture of me and a friend in our swimsuits, soaking up the sun. Among the usual comments from friends was one from a man I didn't recognize. He left 3 flame emojis. Curious, I clicked on his profile. He had only 3 pictures, around 80 followers, and was following over 200 people, including me. The pictures were all selfies, and the man appeared to be in his late 40s or early 50s. At first, I didn't think much of it. Older people leave comments sometimes, especially on public profiles. But then he started commenting on every photo I posted. It wasn't just emojis anymore. He would leave comments like hot or gorgeous. The attention was unsettling, but I tried to brush it off. One day, instead of commenting, he sent me a direct message. It said, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you that you're beautiful, even though I'm like 30 years older than you, lol." I don't know why, but I responded with a simple lol thanks. Most people would probably have ignored it, but I didn't want to come off as rude. He replied quickly, saying, "I would kill to meet a girl like you." That's when I started to feel really uncomfortable. I sent a short thanks and hoped he wouldn't continue the conversation. But then he sent another message, "Maybe one day I'll meet you." Lol, this time I didn't reply. The whole situation made me uneasy, but I still didn't block him. I figured it was just a harmless old guy who liked my photos. But a few days later, I posted a picture of me and my sister Allison, standing in front of our house. Within minutes, the same man commented, "You and your sister are so cute." That was the final straw. I deleted his comment and immediately blocked him, feeling a sense of relief. That evening, Allison and I were home alone. I was in the bathroom, getting ready to go out, when I noticed a car pull up in front of the house. The car was unfamiliar, and only the front part was visible through the window. The rest of the car was obscured by the large bush that separated our yard from the neighbors. The headlights were turned off, but no one got out of the car. I found it strange, but I didn't dwell on it. When it was time for me to leave, I grabbed my keys and headed to my car. The mysterious car was still there, a black Maxima with heavily tinted windows, making it impossible to see inside. I got into my car, did a quick 3-point turn, and drove off, trying not to let it bother me. I went to a small gathering at a friend's house, where we had some drinks and chatted for a few hours. By the time I left, it was late, and I was tired. As I pulled up to my house, I noticed the Maxima was still parked in the same spot. A wave of anxiety washed over me. Who was this person, and why were they still here? I parked my car and sent a few texts to friends, letting them know I had made it home safely before stepping out. As I walked up to the front door, I kept my eyes on the Maxima, trying to see if anyone was inside. My hands were shaking as I fumbled with my keys and dropped them on the ground. Too scared to bend down and pick them up, I rang the doorbell several times, hoping Allison would answer quickly. But she didn't. I had no choice but to crouch down and grab my keys. I finally opened the door and hurried inside, locking it behind me. I took one last glance at the Maxima before heading upstairs to check on Allison. Her bedroom door was wide open, but the lights were off. It was unusual for her to go to bed so early, especially when we were home alone. I walked into her room, whispering her name, but she didn't respond. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I realized I could hear a faint whisper. The sound was coming from her closet. I crept closer, my heart pounding in my chest, and found Allison hiding inside, tears streaming down her face. She put a finger to her lips, signaling for me to stay quiet. I reached out to pull her out of the closet, but as soon as I did, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Standing in the middle of her room was a man, silhouetted in the darkness. I couldn't tell if he was looking at us, but it didn't matter. We both screamed and bolted out of the room, running down the stairs and out the front door. We made it to my car just in time, locking the doors as the man reached for the handle. He started pounding on the window, trying to break in, while Allison screamed in terror. Through the chaos, I realized who it was, the man from Instagram. I quickly started the car and sped away, honking the horn to draw attention from the neighbors. It must have worked because he stopped and ran back to his car, the Maxima, and sped off down a different street. We didn't go back home until the police arrived. They found that the man had broken in through an upstairs window, using a ladder to climb onto the awning. He had likely found our address from the photo I posted with Allison, where the house number was visible. When I tried to give the police his Instagram account, I discovered he had already deleted it. Without his username, there was nothing more they could do. Since that night, I've set my Instagram to private and only accept follow requests from people I know. I'm much more cautious about what I share online and constantly aware of my surroundings. A few weeks ago, I discovered something that turned my life upside down. But before I get into what I found, let me explain what had been happening to me leading up to this discovery. For weeks, I had been hearing strange noises at night, specifically a faint tap or scrape on my bedroom window. At first, I brushed it off as bugs or tree branches brushing against the glass. But the sound kept happening 2 or 3 times a week, always late at night. It started to make me feel uneasy, like something wasn't quite right. I told my dad about it, hoping he might have an explanation. He reassured me it was probably just the wind or insects, but that didn't make me feel any better. After a few nights without hearing the noise, I started to relax, thinking it was over. But then I got a text message that changed everything. The message was from a guy I used to know from school. We weren't friends, but we had exchanged numbers during a group project once. The message read, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I wanted to let you know about something I found. It's pretty disturbing if you're unaware of it." There was a link at the end of the message. Curious, I clicked on the link, and it took me to an Instagram page. The username was AR_official, my initials. The profile picture was of me, and the page had 45 posts, all of them photos of me. These weren't pictures I had taken or posted myself. They were candid shots taken without my knowledge. Some of the photos were of me at the beach, others were of me sitting in my car, but the most disturbing ones were taken from outside my house. There were pictures of me in my backyard, and even more unsettling, there were photos of me inside my room, taken through my bedroom window. One photo showed me sitting on my bed, another showed me standing, and one even captured me in my underwear. A feeling of nausea and fear washed over me as I scrolled through the images. Each post had a few likes, and some had comments. But instead of people expressing concern, the comments were creepy and disturbing, with people saying things like "go for it," "so hot," or "I'd do anything to get close to her." The captions were equally unsettling. They were written as if the person was obsessed with me, saying things like "she's the love of my life," or "I just like to watch her." As I was trying to process this nightmare, I heard that familiar sound again, the scrape at the window. Suddenly, everything made sense. The noises weren't random. There was someone trying to take pictures of me. I completely lost it. I screamed louder than I ever had before. My dad burst into my room, asking what was wrong. I showed him the Instagram page and explained the noises I've been hearing. He went from concerned to enraged in seconds. He ran outside, yelling into the night, trying to find whoever was out there. Then he came back inside and called the police. I gave the police the Instagram account, hoping they could track down the person behind it. They contacted Instagram, but by the time they received the request, the account had already been deleted. Even though Instagram was able to recover some information, it was traced to an old, untraceable device. My dad saw how scared I was, and he decided we would move out of the house within a month. Luckily, there haven't been any new noises, but I keep my blinds shut all the time now and always check my surroundings when I'm out. I can't stress this enough. Keep your Instagram private and be aware of what's going on around you. You never know who might be watching. Love creepy stories? Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss a new one. Our email is in the description. Please send in your horror stories.